Game on in South Carolina after a big night in the Granite State. John Kasich surging to a strong second-place finish behind Donald Trump with 16% of the vote.
At a time when clearly change is in the air, maybe, just maybe, we're turning the page on a dark part of American politics, because tonight the light overcame the darkness of negative campaigning.
But can the Ohio governor ride that wave to the next primary? Here to weigh in, former U.S. Senator John Sununu, Kasich's campaign chairman in New Hampshire. Ed Rollins just spoke highly of him. Congratulations, big win. Now, he did a lot of these town halls in New Hampshire. He spent a lot of time and energy there. Is it possible to transfer that strategy to South Carolina?
Well, look, it's not identical, but there are a lot of similarities. This morning, he had well over 500 people at his first event in the morning after getting on the plane at about 2 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, tremendous turnout, tremendous response. So there is a lot of personal interaction. One of the values, though, of the style of campaigning in New Hampshire, we saw it in the last debate. He's listened, he understands the problems, and he's got real ideas, real solutions that respond to voters' concerns. And that's one of the reasons it resonated.
Down in South Carolina.
Sure.
They're much tougher on immigration, for example, than Kasich is, correct?
Well, look, what John says is, you know, finish the wall, establish a guest worker program that's verifiable, that's certifiable, where people can come in here. He recognizes, though, that the idea of deporting 12 million people all at once doesn't make a lot of sense culturally or economically.
But does he change or bend his message on immigration at all to suit a different audience?
I don't think so, because voters catch on to that. Look, voters know they're not going to agree with you on every single issue. But say in South Carolina, do they agree with John Kasich and cutting $5 billion in taxes in Ohio? Sure they do. Privatizing economic development in prisons in Ohio? Sure they do.
What about
rolling back
Obamacare,
regulations? They agree with him on these fiscally conservative issues.
He got the appearance of doing something in favor of Obamacare by expanding Medicaid within the state of Ohio.
Well, look,
how do you answer that charge?
It's not Obamacare. He wants to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with other things. We can talk about health care reform.
But most of Obamacare these days is Medicaid spending, correct?
On Medicaid, what he did is use that money to reform the program. So growth in Medicaid spending in Ohio went from 10% to less than 3% because he reformed the program, brought in competition, used technology, allowed senior citizens to stay in their homes rather than be forced into a nursing home. I mean, this is sharp, common sense reform that can be translated nationwide. That's what being a reformer is really all about.
I just have to ask about one quote in New Hampshire that he got a lot of grief for. He said, maybe I should run as a Democrat. He said, I ought to be running in a Democratic primary. I got more Democrats for me. You have any Republican friends? He was speaking to somebody.
Look, a Democrat happened to come up to him, obviously. But you know what the real point is? This is the Republican that will win the general election. He'll win Ohio. He'll win Michigan. He's the Republican that they're most worried about. And at the same time, he has never strayed away from his conservative roots of balancing budgets, cutting taxes, rolling back regulations. He did it as chairman of the Budget Committee. He's done it in Ohio. And he's the kind of an independent thinker that can actually solve these problems. And one last thought about being a conservative, though, okay? John Kasich cut taxes $5 billion in Ohio. How many taxes has Ted Cruz cut? None. He rolled back regulations to create jobs in Ohio. How many regulations has Ted Cruz cut?
He's got the experience.
None. Okay? So, you know, conservative isn't making speeches. Conservative is getting this stuff done.
Senator
and John Kasich has.
Sununu, we got to leave it at that. Again, congratulations for New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's a great night last night.
South Carolina.